second time filming this video, but that's fine because we're working with new things here. Got a new mic, using a lens I've never used on this channel before. It's all new, trying stuff out. So 2 months ago, I talked about reading as self-care and escapism. And now I'm going to talk about reading as routine. Reading every day. Making reading as common as brushing your teeth. Something I'm trying to be better at, and I'm not quite where I want to be yet, but I'm a lot better than I was a year ago. One tip I have for reading every day, or trying to read every day, is to start off with a book that you really, really like. So a really good book, or a really suspenseful book, something that makes you have to find out what happens next. A page turner, if you will. The idea behind that is you read this book every day because you can't put it down. Once the book's done and you pick up your next one, even if it's not as suspenseful, you'll still be in that habit of picking up a book every day and reading a little bit. Now, this hasn't exactly worked for me in the past because my problem is I'll find one of those books that I can't put down, and I can't put it down so much that I'll end up finishing it in like just a few days, and then the whole routine doesn't really start. But I am trying to do this a little more, and I think that just setting aside that time every day, like putting it on your to-do list if you're a list maker, if not, setting yourself an alarm maybe, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes a day, getting in that habit makes it easier to keep going with it and to reach your goal. My goal, of course, 25 books in a year. I'm 1 book ahead of schedule, according to Goodreads. So now it's time to get into my reading wrap-up for March and April. I read the same amount of books as I did in the first 2 months of the year, but more of them were comics this time, which I don't think is cheating. Some people do, but not me. As the Sailor Moon series by Nakao Takeuchi. I have talked about Sailor Moon recently on this channel. I talked about these 2 books, and then actually last week I did a whole Sailor Moon collection video. So yeah, I definitely like Sailor Moon. I got the 3rd book on my birthday weekend, so I'm slowly collecting the whole thing and reading them faster than I can afford to buy them, unfortunately, but it's so good. The next book I have is Shattered Dreams by Ellie James. This book I picked up like forever ago at a book festival in this section that was like $3 books or something. I found it in the last like 3 minutes of this thing being open, and I just grabbed this and another one that had interesting covers. I judged a book by its cover, I'll admit, but it just looked like a fantasy young adult. Very much my thing. I do like fantasy. There's this little dragonfly necklace on, which is a part of the book, definitely. I'll be honest with you, this one probably is only gonna get 2 stars on my Goodreads because it wasn't very well written. Now, no disrespect to the author, but it kind of confused me, and at times I felt like I forgot how to read. Things were confusing as far as sometimes who was talking, or where they were, or how much time had passed, or what time of day it was, or if what's happening now is happening in the same day as what happened before, and I got just a little, like, what? I had to reread things occasionally to figure out what was happening. But that being said, what I really liked about it was the fantasy elements, but then also the location, because it takes place in New Orleans. A young girl, she moves back there. Her deceased parents used to live there, so now she's moving back and kind of rediscovering sort of her past and her powers. Fantasy powers, she got them. But what was interesting is it's New Orleans post Hurricane Katrina, so a lot of the places she goes are these abandoned buildings, and a lot of the characters have connections with places like their childhood homes are destroyed and they visit the ruins, and it's very interesting to have a fantasy coming of age young adult story being told in a place that is very real, and I like that a lot. Would I recommend this book? If you're not into this genre, young adult fantasy, then no, there's much better ones out there to start with if you're interested, but it's interesting. I wouldn't completely pass this up, but it's not one of my favorites. So that was my reading wrap up for March and April. Thanks for watching.